to visit the website www.kimberlyannnaturals.com. Kimberly Ann Naturals only uses vegan-based materials, and they offer you body butter, scrubs, bath salts, plus more. You can also participate in their Reiki sessions and one-on-one or group meditation teachings. Make sure that you follow Kimberly Ann Naturals on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram. If you have any more questions, be sure to visit the website, which is www.kimberlyannnaturals.com.
Make sure to stop by Sky's Tent if you're close to the Columbia, Missouri area. Sky's Tent owner has been tinting windows for 20 years. Sky Tent mainly tint vehicle windows. However, residential windows can be tinted as well. And most vehicles are a flat rate. You're also guaranteed a nationwide lifetime warranty, which means any window tint will be replaced if it starts to bubble, crack, fade, or have adhesive failure. Damaged windows that have been broken or scratched are not covered. I've actually gotten my windows tinted here before, and I can say he is fast. So if you have any questions, be sure to call or stop by Sky's Tent of Columbia, Missouri. Welcome to T Certified TV, and today I just want the viewers to help me understand where Admiral Byrd really went. I ask that you all that view this video, please view it with an open mind.
May I introduce our co-editors for this edition of the Longines Chronoscope? Larry Lasser, CBS News correspondent, and Kenneth Crawford, National Affairs Editor of Newsweek magazine. Our very distinguished guest for this evening is Admiral Richard E. Byrd.
I must say that Admiral Byrd, our guest tonight, is not only our greatest living explorer, but he's been an inspiration to countless Americans. Admiral Byrd, you've been to both the North Pole and the South Pole. Is there any unexplored land left on this Earth that might appeal to adventurous young Americans?
Yes, there is. And not up around the North Pole, because it's getting crowded up there now, because they find out it's really usable, not only to live in, but militarily. Yes, there is. And not up around the North Pole, because it's getting crowded up there now, because they find out it's really usable, not only to live in, but militarily. I'm willing to say to you that there will be a number of expeditions that will follow, I think, year after year, to the bottom of the world, because the government has really become interested.
Well, but why this interest in the bottom of the world? Nobody living down there, is there?
No, it's pretty cold. There's only one permanent resident, that's the emperor penguin. The little ones live further north. I tell you one reason they're interested. It's by far the most valuable, important place left in the world for science. That's why the scientific groups all over the nation are really interested. It has to do with the future of the nation, those to come after us, or even during your lifetime, because it happens to be an untouched reservoir of natural resources. And the bottom of the world will be important, not only to us, but to our allies. Even now, if anything happened and we lost the Panama Canal, we would have to control the islands just north of Antarctica, which are part of Antarctica.
The Panama Canal is the most important waterway on Earth. It turns this journey into this, and it brings the United States closer to both Europe and Asia.
It's the most peaceful place in the world.
Well, I'm sure that won't last very long.
Admiral, you speak of the resources of Antarctica. What are they? What are the natural resources there?
Well, we've found enough of coal within 180 miles of the South Pole in a great ridge of mountains. It's not covered with snow, enough to supply the whole world for quite a while.
Well,
that's the coal. Now, there's evidence of many other minerals. We are pretty sure there's oil. Now, that coal shows the bottom of the world. Now, by far the coldest spot in the world. Where that coal is gets 100 below zero in the winter.
Well,
was once tropical. So we recklessly expend our resources. The time will come when we'll have to go after that stuff down there.
Well,
you know, I avoided what you said about uranium. I'm not sure about that. I don't want to have the world fighting over the Antarctica. And there are 7 nations very much interested. Russia is interested tremendously. That I'm sure of. Australia has an expedition down there. The Argentine, the Chile, New Zealand, Britain, and so on. Now, you can understand those people down there being interested because they live down there. The New Zealanders, the Argentinians, the Chileans, and Australians. And so we don't do much about claiming anything.
Admiral, you make this sound a little crowded.
between the top of the world and the bottom of the world?
There is. Now, the North Pole is the center of an ocean 10,000 feet deep. The South Pole, the center of a plateau 10,000 feet high. The North Polar Sea is surrounded by continents that are slightly frozen. The Antarctic continent is surrounded by a belt of ice, frozen seas of at least 1,200 miles thick. Now, the South is a plateau. It gets, in some places, 14,000 feet up. I've been over areas about 13,000, and it's a little bit chilly up there. So there's that big difference between the top and bottom of the world. The North really isn't very cold up there on the Arctic Ocean.
Not compared to South.
That's the end of the interview. I want everyone to remember that Admiral Richard Byrd went to Antarctica, so society would consider him a very credible source. Now, this is where I need help understanding just where did Admiral Byrd really go. He stated that the North Pole is getting crowded because they found out that it's really usable.
Not only to live in, but militarily.
Mind you, he stated at the end,
the North Pole is the center of an ocean 10,000 feet deep.
The reason why I added the man-made Panama Canal was to show one possible reason as to why the U.S. was down there. And I wonder if the Panama Canal was built because of them ocean gyres. Now remember, the islands down there by Antarctica is actually a part of Antarctica, which is right there by the tip of South America. Now, right there is where they could control certain type of shipments. That's if the Panama Canal was destroyed or some type of way they wasn't able to use it again. That is why he had brought up the Panama Canal. They would be able to control that area if they controlled the islands.
The Panama Canal is the most important waterway on Earth. It turns this journey into this, and it brings the United States closer to both Europe and Asia.
The
very much
Palma
so.
Peninsula, was it?
Very much so. Even now, if anything happened and we lost the Panama Canal, we would have to control the islands just north of Antarctica, which are part of Antarctica.
They already set up shop down on the islands and they would have to reroute back to the old way. Remember Admiral Byrd's description of Antarctica.
Now, the North Pole is the center of an ocean 10,000 feet deep. The South Pole, the center of a plateau 10,000 feet high. The North Polar Sea is surrounded by continents that are slightly frozen. The Antarctic continent is surrounded by a belt of ice, frozen seas of at least 1,200 miles thick. Now, the South is a plateau. It gets, in some places, 14,000 feet up. I've been over areas about 13,000, and it's a little bit chilly up there. So there's that big difference between the top and bottom of the world.
The next thing that I need help understanding is that I noticed how Admiral Richard Byrd said that New Zealand, Chile, Argentina, Russia, and Great Britain, also known as the United Kingdom, he said that they all live down there. Now, for those of you who would say that I'm reaching, Byrd never denied that Russia and Great Britain were located down there in this whole interview. And you could go on YouTube and find the whole interview. It's about maybe 8 to 9 minutes long. Check it out for yourself. Or you could just rewind this video. And when you think about it, he actually said Russia's name first when he made that statement about how all the countries were already down there. Now, there's only one other person who I've ever heard say this, which is this guy named Dan Calloway. He made a video on how everything was told in reverse. I actually watched that video years ago, and now that I'm going back to review what Byrd told the people in that interview, I'm starting to think that what he said is actually true. Mind you, Admiral Richard Byrd is someone who actually went to both poles, so he should be someone who's very credible, right? I want everybody to realize that what I'm saying, I'm basing it off of what he said in this interview. Now, this is part 1. Part 2, we're really going to get into some in-depth details about what he also saw when he went to Antarctica. And with that being said, make sure to subscribe, comment, like, or you can even email me at tcertifiedtv@gmail.com if you want to share something personal. That's all that I have right now.